Let me know in the comments. Am I the only one that saw this card and thought it was Patrick Star in the background?
What, from SpongeBob?
Yeah.
You just thought SpongeBob just snuck onto Lorcana
pink
card.
and he's that sort of shape, is he? I thought that he was watching Genie and Aladdin play cards.
The organic panic is here, and so is pre-release weekend.
And for one weekend only, everyone forgets about the meta and goes back to one simple question.
Can I actually build a decent deck from 6 packs?
Tonight, we're sharing our top tips for winning Lorcana Sealed and the 40 best cards to pull in your Attack of the Vine pre-release kit.
And why some cards are miles better than they first appear.
But stick around, because later we're settling a debate we've been having all week, because one of these decks could dominate the next format.
And the other one might stop it before it even gets started. So the organic panic is here. Friday, the 17th of July. New set. I'm so excited for this. This is it's really awkward for us, right? As anything in any YouTube world, we're obviously recording this a few days before, and I gotta wait. Whereas all you lot listening to this could be cracking into your pack right now, you know. So, good luck for anyone who is opening while you're watching. Drop us a comment, let us know what you get, what your hits are. So, yeah, organic panic is here, and it's starting to look interesting, right?
Absolutely. Attack of the Vine. We're going to be cracking open those packs. We've got some incredible enchanted to look for. There's new mechanics. There's the team cards. We've got Monsters Inc. in the franchise. It's awesome. Lots and lots of stuff to be very, very excited about.
Definitely. And talking about packs, obviously don't forget this weekend a lot of your LGSs will be running pre-release. So pre-release, if you haven't done one before, in Lorcana it works as you get a pre-release kit. So this is the pre-release kit here. So you get 6 booster packs, some dice, a little booklet tells you how to play the game, I assume. And then you get 1 of 6 random promo cards and 1 of 3 posters. If you want to find out a bit more about the posters and the promo card, we did a post on our Instagram. So if you go over to there, we've got pictures of them all on there. But tonight we're going to be looking at not the things that come in the pre-release, but potentially the cards that you might want to put in your pre-release deck. So yeah,
pre-release is a bit different to core constructed. So you're building a 40 card deck, and you can use any colors you like. You're not restricted to 2 ink colors. And then after you've built that deck, obviously you might want to go on and look to put some of the new cards in your core constructed deck. So stay tuned as well, because later in the video we're going to look at a couple of very spicy, very competitive deck lists that you might well want to build.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really excited about them. One of them I'm really enjoying at the minute, so I'm hoping it carries on to do well. So, but as we say, it's 40 cards, so let's have a look at the 40 best cards in Attack of the Vine. Almost a Wilds Unknown then. Look at that. Living in the past. So, obviously, I'll bring this up better on the screen in a second, but when we looked through this, so we've done a bit of research, we've looked at what a lot of people that play a lot of Sealed and Draft are saying. This isn't just our opinion. We've done a bit of research on this, and this seems to be the strongest 40 cards in the set. Obviously, in a pre-release, you could pull 4 Dash Par, right? So if you manage to do that, you're probably going to be off to a very good start, because obviously Dash is an evasive character. And as anyone knows, evasives in pre-release or in sealed or limited is always going to be good, right? Because they're always going to challenge, find it awkward to challenge you. So obviously, if you pull 4, you'd probably run 4, right? But obviously, we wanted to look at the 40 if you hit 1 of each. So what you could be looking for. So
just for anyone who's less familiar, some of the things that you are looking for generally in sealed as FPS said there, evasive characters.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also looking for characters with some good stats. So big static characters that maybe in core wouldn't be doing enough. Can be very, very useful in sealed because there's less removal options available to get rid of them off the board straight away.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that draws you a card is kind of gold dust.
Yeah, pretty much.
In sealed, and any form of removal, as I say, there's going to be very limited removal. If you are able to remove one or two of your opponent's cards, you can take over the game relatively quickly because again they little card draw, so people can't be throwing out 2-3 cards a turn to catch up board positions. So if you're able to take out one or two of their things and keep building your board, you're going to do very, very well.
Yeah, definitely. It's also one of those ones. Obviously, you want to try and maximize your 2-for-1. So what we mean by there is, putting yourself in a situation where one of your cards ends up costing your opponent 2 cards to deal with. So if you've got something on board and you've managed to, argument's sake, give something support with Lilo to buff it up, you've taken something else out, it survives, and your opponent's then got a challenge in with something else to finish it. You've taken out 2 cards with that one, right? So you're getting 2-for-1. You've got more cards on board than your opponent does. So anything like that, or anything where you're going to be gaining card advantage, because as much as card advantage in core is good, you don't have to have it to win a game, right? You can win games on very, very low cards in hand. Sealed is a completely different ball game. If you manage to continuously play cards every single turn, and the more cards you can get to board, the stronger you're going to be. So in Sealed, normally you want a relatively low curve. You don't want to be too high. Obviously, unfortunately, all the absolute amazing cards are in like the 5-6 range, so they are really high in this set. Previously, the 6 and 7s you wouldn't play in any other set. The 6 and 7s have been like, nah, don't even bother putting them in your deck. Whereas unfortunately this set, the 6s and 7s seem to be really good, so we'll have a look at those in a second. But you 1-drops, so there isn't many that actually do much in Attack of the Vine. So we've gone for Dashpar, which is obviously evasive, and Boo. So Boo is a 0-3, but while you have 5 or more cards in your Inkwell, this character gets +2 lore, so she can quest for free. Obviously, you can play her down. There's not much in the game that's going to exert. So you can play Boo down and then just wait until you hit 5. There's no issue in waiting for this. You can just build a board and then wait until you hit 5 ink and then quest. If they decide to use their removal on Boo, that is a massive plus for you. There is not a lot of removal in the game, and if they're using it to take out your 1-drop, that puts you in a very, very good position, because it means they're not using it on the cards that you would probably save it for later on in the game. So, like I said, there's not fantastic amounts in one. We do have a card draw of You Break My Smolder, and Startle. So Startle is a -3 strength. It doesn't draw your card, right? So this is a little bit controversial, because a lot of people say, well, it doesn't draw your card, it's not really good, but it will help you in that 2-for-1 situation. If you can bring down a character that's got, say, 4 willpower, and you bring it down, 4 strength, and you bring it down to 1, so that way you can take something out and yours survives, it then means they have to use another card to trade with you. So it's putting your opponent down. You've used 1 from hand, but your character on board survived. They've then got to use another 1 from board. So they're taking up 2 characters off board to take out your 1. Yes, you are missing 1 from hand, right? So this is that situation where it makes it a little bit awkward. If this is a draw card, it would 100% be better. But I think in the situation where you could potentially take something out bigger with something little and still survive, it's worth having. And then
I think
the twos.
You Broke My Smolder as the draw card. I mean, if you open this in a sealed pack, put it in your deck.
Yeah.
End of. I mean, this is the dock replacement. Discard your hand, draw 2 cards. But as we said, you are going to hit a point where you're top decking most games in sealed, because there isn't that amount of card draw. So the discard your hand is not really an issue. This basically reads
No,
pay one, draw
no.
2 cards.
Yeah, definitely. It's awkward in sealed. You don't really want too many uninkables, but that is definitely one that you would 100% put in. And it is only an uncommon, right? So it's not going to be easy to get because, like you say, you got 6 packs, so you probably got there's 12 uncommons. So you've got 12 chances to hit this card. So it's not going to be easy, but it is possible. So moving on to the 2s, we've got Lilo for support. So we're not going to go too much into depth. I want to pay more attention to further down. Morph, as we will come on to later, there's a lot of cards that could really benefit from Shift. It is situational, right? If you don't find Morph and you don't find the Shift characters, you don't put in the big character. There's no point running that big Shift target if you don't have anything to shift it onto, because most of them are going to benefit a lot more from shifting. There are a couple that obviously don't, which we will cover, but it's there as a good thing if you find Morph and say you do find a Dash and a Violet. We will come across later, there is a Dash and Violet shift that Morph can act as one of those. So, Morph is always going to be good in that situation. Again, as we said, evasives is always going to be good. Obviously, this does mean that all your cards in your hand also have the Inkable tag. But again, we don't want to pay into that. You're not going to be sitting 12 uninkables in just because you've got this one card in your deck, because if you don't find this, it's kind of game over. So that second ability is not really there. It's mainly the evasive tag. I think there's something like only 6 evasives in the entire set that are low down. Like rare or below, so that your chance of you finding an evasive is quite difficult, whereas last set there was quite a lot of them. So you're going to have to be a little bit lucky to hit evasives. So obviously a 3/3 on 2 is always going to be good, decent stats. And Violet, as we said, is a shift target, but it's also a 3/2 with resist 1. So, like I said, just nice solid cards on board. Like I say, Cusco's a 5/1. Just presence on board, right? You've got either evasive or you've got a half decent body, so that way if your opponent does decide to turn sideways with their lead low for 1 lord, you could just take it out and not worry about it. So yeah. Going into the 3s, so things start to heat up as we hit into the 3 drops. So we have Woody. So Woody is a 3 cost 5? I wish it was a 5. 3/2, quest for 1, but his ability is when you play his character, until start of your next turn, a chosen opposing character can't challenge and must quest if able. So it's a very good way of protecting the card. You can protect your, put this on their 2-drop, which means they have to quest with it. If it's something you can take out or trade your 1-drop for and take out their 2 that they might not have turned sideways. So argument's sake, perfect example is if you had, I'm not going to try, but Mrs. here down, and they've got a Violet down. Their Violet's probably going to be more beneficial to them later game. So you could play Woody. They would have to quest with this, and then you can trade them next turn. So it just means that they're having to turn things sideways that they might not normally. So like Cusco, for instance, they might keep on board because it's a 5 strength. I want to save that for later to take out any of your bigger cards. But you can say, no, you've got to cross Cusco, and then you can just run a 1-drop into it and take it out, or, a vanilla 2/2, because you're going to get some vanilla 2/2s in your deck. You're not going to hit this perfect 40 cards. So Woody is nice there to do that, or, like I say, just protect your board, and you can quest away if they didn't find a 1-drop. They might not find a 1 and only have a 2. In that way, you get a bit of freedom. Next up, Buzz. 4/4. This character can't gain evasive. That's not going to matter. Like we say, I think there's only 1 card in the entire set that can give him evasive, and the chances of you finding that is like 1,000,000 to 1. It's mainly a 4/4, right? He's a very, very strong static character for turn 3. That's going to give you a big ball presence. It's not going to be easy to take out. So yeah, nice.
But with only 1 arm,
early pressure.
right? He's a strong, beefy
1
character, but he's only got 1 arm. So if you get on the right, if you get on that side of him, he's probably not quite so strong and beefy. But
maybe he throws the other arm at you.
Yeah, maybe.
If you get too close, he throws the other arm. So, do you want to have a look at Todd?
Yeah, so this is Todd Clever Fox. His 3 cost 1 strength, 2 willpower, questing for 1, but with the ability problem solving. When you play this character, draw 2 cards, then choose and discard a card. So, as we're saying, draw power is very limited. So this draws you a card, or it replaces itself, and you've got a body on board. So yeah, and it's inkable. So all good things.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to be able to get this out of your hand, bring something else in, and potentially get something else off your deck that you didn't want to have. So if you do have to stick a couple of those vanilla 2/2s in, you can always get rid of them. So one of the probably a very, very impactful free, probably going to be the best free for sealed and draft. The chance you get it, unfortunately, is going to be very difficult because it is a legendary, is Mushu. So we have Mushu, which is free cost, 3/2, quest for 1, but he has evasive. And his big ability is whenever this character quests, if an opponent has more cards in their hand than you, you may draw a card. You can probably empty your hand quite quickly, right? If you're going first, this is going to be easier to pull off, right? Because you're naturally going to have less cards in hand anyway. You can ink something that you didn't really want to, or you can ink an extra. Like, you get to, say you play this on 4 or 5, you can still play this and make sure you ink and for turn to draw a card if you need to, sort of thing. So you can get cards out your hand, especially if you build the decks with lower curve, you can empty your hand a little bit quicker, potentially. So I don't know whether you're going to be drawing a card every time, but with evasive, I don't think he's going to disappear very quickly. This is probably going to be one of those ones that they're going to have to use a removal for. Next up, the cuteness that is Boo. Probably one of a very, very strong character in core constructed. I think it's going to see a lot of play in most Ruby decks, and I think it sees just as much play if you can pull it in sealed. Again, probably one of the top uninkable cards. Like I say, you don't want to be running many in sealed, and yeah, her ability to banish anything that costs 3 strength or less is just so good.
Yeah, I mean, I love the flavour of this card. It kind of reminds me of my grandkids as well. They kind of come in like a whirlwind, smash into things that they have no right to knock over, destroy things, and then wander away.
Yeah, run back off again.
Unscratched. And that's exactly what Boo does. Comes in with rush, challenges something, takes it out, and then says, "Doesn't matter that I'm I'm a little 0-1. I've taken no damage."
Yeah, I think this is one of those ones of this is what we're on about when we say 2-for-1s, right? So Boo's going to come in, take something out, and then they are going to instantly trade into Boo with anything they have on board. So obviously it's not going to get banished, but they're turning that sideways, which then frees you up to take out whatever they choose to turn sideways. A lot of sealed and draft is very much build a board, and you don't very often quest or go sideways until you feel free to do so, or feel like it's in your benefit to do so. So it's not like in core where you're going to get things turning sideways often. It is going to be slower to begin with. So being able to take something out and potentially have them turn sideways to take this out as well. Could be really good. And like I say, as much as obviously you're probably not going to be playing this on curve, but it's one of those ones of she's got rush, so it doesn't matter. You can just play at any point. And like I say, I think there's something like 127 cards that are 3 strength or less from this set, so it's over half the set that she can take out. So it's a big amount.
Is Boo one of the pre-release promos?
She is indeed. So there is the Attack of Divine.
Double chance of getting her, right? So
yeah, because
you could get her in one of your packs, or you could get her as your promo.
Yeah, and definitely.
So if people aren't aware of that, you can use anything that comes in that pre-release box. So you can use the promo card in your deck.
Yeah. Like I say, if we do want to find out what the other ones are, there is a post on our Instagram. So next up is Dr. Hamsterville. So 3/4, quest 1, and he's got alert. I mean, as soon as you see that alert tag, he's pretty much going in deck. Like we said, there's not many evasives, so if you can't find evasive, the next best thing is to find alert, right? So at least he can then take out evasives himself, which is really nice. So.
Yeah, that's really important because you've got to. Ideally, you want to have evasives yourself to give your opponent headaches, but you've got to have something that solves your own headache. You know, you've got to have a way of removing evasives. So you've either got to have, sort of spot removal from an action of some kind, another evasive, or this is ideal, being an alert. This can take out those pesky evasives.
So moving on to the 4-cost slot, like we say, it's starting to ramp up. The further and further we get into this set, the more and more power we seem to be able to find. So first off, we have Pocahontas and Miko, whatever. All you need to know is she's evasive. So when this character quests, you may return a character of yours a 1-cost or less. 1 cost to your hand. If you do, you may play a character of 1 cost for free. So basically the idea is that you quest for something that's a 1 cost. Quest for this, put it back to your hand and play it for free. So it's just readying it basically and protecting it. Like I say, she's evasive, but the big issue is she is legendary. So again, it's going to be very difficult to find. But if you get lucky and find her, it's going to be a very, very strong card. Like I say, 2/3 is not great. It's okay, but she does quest 2 and an invasive. So in Sealed, that is very strong.
You're probably not shifting it, even if you have the shift target, because it hasn't got the stats. So that would be costing you a card off the board. So yeah, you're probably not looking to try and play a Pocahontas line. This is probably just played out on its own.
Yeah, definitely. So we have another evasive genie. There's a genie.
Yeah, well, because you've just got to have genie in your deck. I mean, that doesn't need anything else. All it needs is the artwork and the name. But yeah, evasive. So 3/3 evasive on 4. That's pretty good. And quest for 2.
Yeah.
Nice.
Again, not a massive body, but it's enough, right? Especially in evasives. So I think that will be the last of the evasive until we get further down now. So next up, we have Todd and Cooper. Oh, he says as this one's evasive. So there seems to be a theme here. The strongest card seems to be the ones you can't touch. So 3/3, quest for 2. Basically, it's a genie, but a different card. Next up, we have Red Alert. So Red Alert is basically a step up on Brawl, right? So Brawl was 2 strength or less. This is 3 strength or less, but it costs you 4 ink instead of 3 ink, but it's also inkable instead of uninkable. So I feel like Red Alert's pretty good here. Like we said with Boo, there's a lot of characters that are 3 strength or less. So there's a good chance that you're taking out something quite impactful with this. And if you have a monster character in play, chosen opponent loses 1 law. I don't think the chances you having that ability is going to, really become impactful. It's mainly there for the spot removal. Like I said, there's not much removal, but what there is worth having, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you find any sort of removal cards in your pack, they really want to be going in your deck because they can make the absolute difference.
Yeah, definitely. So as we said with Sin, there are a few evasives, so we have to have another alert. Launchpad is a 3/4 with alert, quest for 2, so a good body, right? He survives the challenge. So if you trade into a Todd and Cooper or a Genie, he's going to survive, which is key, right? That opens up, like we said, those 2-for-1s. So yeah, Launchpad, just a solid card. I don't think it'll see much play in Core Constructed, but in Sealed, that is a very strong card. So next up is Randall. So Randall's a little bit of a weird one, right? So Randall is a 3/3 quest for 2, but he has 2 abilities. So your first bit is when you play this character, put chosen character of yours into your inkwell, face down and exerted. Normally that's not great, right? Because the idea is you're taking tempo from your board, you're removing a character from your board. It's not too bad because he's a 4 cost, right? So if you want to quest with your 1 and 2, there's a chance that your opponent's going to have characters on the board, so they're going to take it out anyway. So if they're going to be removing it, you may as well get something from it, right? But his other ability is Devious Plan. So at the end of your turn, if all cards in your inkwell are exerted, you can gain 1 lore. That should be quite easy to pull off in sealed, mainly because you play to curve. So you try and play a 4 on 4, you try and play a 5 on 5, So obviously it's not always going to be a thing, but you've got a good chance of doing it. Especially from 4, 5 to 6, you should be able to do it. Obviously, once you've then got to 6, you might not have another 6 cost, so it might get a bit awkward. But there's a chance that you're ticking away for 3 or even 4 lore just passively in the background. So if you're worried about them taking this out, you could just leave it there and just gain, passive lore in the background, and then quest for 2 when you're ready. It's one of those ones of it depends on what you've got in hand, whether you can keep to curve or not. And you're going to use all your ink, then it's worth leaving him upright potentially to gain that lore. Obviously, if they can't take him out, they haven't got anything, then you can always quest. But obviously, you do have to be prepared that boo is a thing, and you may just surprise you. So, but yeah, Randall's a bit of an odd one, but I think he's good. He's good enough to make it through. So the chef.
Well, guess it depends what you want in your kitchen. You
Yeah.
can have the chief. I guess he'll be ordering people around, organising people.
Yeah,
but the chef
chief
might
chef.
be a little bit more skilled at frying your egg.
Potentially. So no ability, vanilla card, but it's a 5/5. Big stats, which is what you want in sealed, right? You want to be able to take out anything that your opponent turns sideways with as much ease as possible. And like we say, we want 2 for 1s. So having that 5 willpower, there's a good chance he's going to survive most challenges and then take something else out when they decide to take him out, or you can take something else out next turn. So yeah, a good card for getting your 2 for 1s to benefit your side of the board. So things really start spicing up as you hit the 5 and 6s. So the first one, another uninkable. Like we say, uninkables are a little bit awkward, but this one's worth it. So we have a 5 cost uninkable Sully 4/4 with bodyguard, and when you play this character, you return a character card from your discard to your hand, right? So this is basically pseudo draw. You can be able to bring something back. By turn 5, if you've got something in there, it's probably something you want to play because you already have played it. So the chances are it's going to be relatively good. If you're playing on curve, obviously you don't have to. This could be played later and bring something else back. Like I said, we do have a shift for this and we do have a shift for Boo, but unless you find 2 Sullys and 2 Boos, you're probably not going to be running the shift. You need at least 3 targets for a shift to really be playing it. In a 40 card deck, it's going to be hard to find, right? You might get lucky and you might, top deck a Sully into the shift Sully, but it's unlikely. But, gives you a card back. It's a bodyguard and a 4/4. It's just decent all around. So, yeah. So, do you want to talk us through Lilo and Stitch?
Yeah, so this is a 5 cost thinkable 3/5, questing for 3. So there's your first clue why this is a good card. You want to race to those lore. This is going to help you get there. Shift for 3 onto a character named either Lilo or Stitch. Again, as we've said, the shifts are less likely because you're not likely to have enough targets in your deck. But it is there. It could come up. And obviously would be quite difficult for your opponent to deal with if you did shift it on 3. Resist +1. I mean, that's quite big. Again, when we're talking about mainly challenging to get rid of cards, having resist on is good. And then support, so you can quest for 3, then add that 3 strength to another character, allowing you to maybe take something big out on their side. Again, back to that sort of 2-for-1 that FPS Madness was talking about earlier. You buff something up, take something out, hopefully survive, and your opponent has now got to trade something in.
Yeah. Well, it's also taking bigger things out with stuff that you shouldn't be able to do, right, as well. So, being able to use your 1-drop to take out their 4 is always going to be good. So, obviously, I hope that if anyone is running Lilo Stitch, you managed to pull this version, but somehow I don't think anyone would be putting it in their deck. But, there'll be someone out there. So next up is just a very, very solid card, 5 cost, 3/6 Lumpy. So quest 2. And when you play this character, you can move 2 damage from chosen character to a chosen opposing character. So it's a bit like Belle. Obviously, Belle does the same sort of thing, where she moves 3, this moves 2. So very, very similar. There's not a lot of damage move in this set. So this could be very good, right? You're going to have to time things right. But this is, again, another card that helps you get those value trades, right? And make sure you're keeping your side of the board alive. So yeah, I really like this.
Yeah, this is a really good card. I could see this being a good card in core as well.
Yeah.
Especially if you've got something that can just bump that 3 strength up to 4 strength. Then this would be a really awkward card for anyone to deal with.
Yeah, the 6 willpower is really nice as well. So Genie and Aladdin. So again, a shift, but chances are that's not going to come into play. But you'll be happy to play this on 5. It's a free quest for 2. When you play this character, you may put any number of cards from your hand to the bottom of your deck in any order. If you do, draw that number plus 1. So sealed can be a little bit awkward, like we say. These are 40 very good cards. The chances are you're not going to hit this 40, right? You're going to end up with some of those vanilla 2/2s, some of those standard cards or the filler cards that you need to put in to reach that 40. This is a very good way of making sure you can, put them to the bottom and draw some more to try and find those cards that you want, right? And you draw plus 1. So if you choose to, don't put anything in the bottom, just draw 1.
Yeah,
so
that's a good point.
Either way, you're drawing a card.
Another draw card. It's another Genie. It's got to go in the deck. Let me know in the comments. Am I the only one that saw this card, probably without my glasses on at first, and thought it was Patrick Star in the background?
What, from SpongeBob?
Yeah.
You just thought SpongeBob just snuck onto Lorcana card.
He's that sort of shape, is he? I thought that he was watching Genie and Aladdin play cards.
Okay. Well, I think for a little, preview into next week for anyone, Grandad Glenn is taking a week off. I think you need it, mate. You're seeing things. Yeah. No, that is definitely not Patrick. I'm now going to look out for a card that looks like SpongeBob just to be able to say it. So I'm going to come on to Winnie the Pooh in a second. Again, another card that could benefit from the shift, but you don't need to. You're happy to play this. 4/4, quest for 2, Rapunzel and Flynn Rider, 5 cost. When you play this character, whenever this character quests, you may draw a card and discard a card. So again, just helping you try and find those things, trying to get those cards that you need. And then also, second ability is during your turn, whenever you discard a character card, you may play that character from your discard. You pay all the cost, but it does mean that if you've got 1 cost in your hand and you've got 6 ink, you could, quest, draw a card, discard the 1 cost, and then just play it from your discard for 1 anyway, and then you've replaced that 1 cost, which you were going to put on board anyway, with a different card in your hand. So it just means that you can get more things to board without it costing you from hand because you draw at the same time. So it kind of replaces itself. and gives you a bit of flexibility. Also means that you can get rid of cards that obviously, like you say, you don't want or isn't useful to you in that moment. You can just stick them in your discard and not have to worry about them clogging your hand, especially if you do decide to go slightly higher on Uninkables. If you do, we are a 40 card deck. I do not recommend going above 8. That's a high number for sealed. If you draw 3 of them in your start or something like that, it's going to be very, very difficult. So yeah. Another very good card in the 5 cost slot is Dash. So Dash is evasive, like we say, but he is a rare, so it's going to be slightly harder to get. And whenever this character quests, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If you do, you may play it. Otherwise, put it in your discard. So you pay all the costs for this, right? So you can quest with Dash, reveal the top card of your deck. If you've got the ink to play it, you can just play it. If you don't, or choose that you don't wish to have that card in play, it just goes in your discard. So again, another way to cycle. This one's a little bit more risky, right? Because you could hit something that you really want, like another evasive, for instance, but you don't have the ink to play it. It means it's going to go in your discard. But I mean, Dash is there because he's a 4/4 evasive, right? So that's the main reason why Dash is going to be good in this. His second ability isn't great, but it's one of those ones. It is a May ability, so you could just quest and not bother doing it. Just having that 4/4 evasive is enough to get him in the deck 100%. So again, Inkable as well. So
yeah, and again, probably not one you're shifting, even if you have the other Dash par, because you just play them both to board and have 2 evasives down.
Yeah, definitely. So a card that sort of made a little bit of a splash, and we all wondered whether it was going to be really good in core. You know, this new honey synergy in Blurpool. Well, it turns out it's even better in sealed. So this is Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. This is a dual ink, so it's Amethyst Sapphire, and it has an ability of this character gets 1+1 lore for each different ink type you have in play. Again, in core, that's going to be quite difficult, right? You might get this down plus 1 other, so you might go for 3. It's a lot easier in sealed, right? There's a lot of colours. You can run all 6. You can run a mixture of anything. If you've got this in hand and know you can play this on 5, you can even play into it, right? You can not question stuff on board to make sure they don't get taken out. And, you know, potentially this could get 3 or 4 quite easily. Or it's going to be difficult to get 3 or 4. You're probably going to get 2 every time because obviously Piglet and Pooh would trigger for 2 anyway.
So it counts itself. So even though it's got no lore,
so the minimum it would quest for is 2.
Yeah,
but in sealed this could be. I mean, the ceiling's 6, right? So you could get all 6 down, and it wouldn't be. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, but it wouldn't be that difficult, especially if you know you've got the character in hand and you know you can build up to it. Yeah. So yeah, it could be.
I mean, I can certainly see you getting 4.
Yeah, 4 should be quite easy.
Yeah.
And like I say, a 3/4, so it's a half decent body. It's going to take, potentially 2 cards to take this out, depending on what they've got on board at the time. So yeah, very nice. And unfortunately, it is a super, so it's not going to be everywhere, which is probably a good thing. So the magical 6 cost, we're getting up there now. Most of the time in sealed, you don't want to play 6, but they're worth it this time around. So we have Sunny and Boo combo shift. So this is a massive asterisk. Do not play this unless you have the shifts in the deck because there's no point. Obviously, this is only if you do have a couple of Sullys, a couple of Boos, or you've got that morph. You've got something to benefit from this, right? Because if you don't, yes, it's a 6/5 that quests for 2, but it's probably not worth it. There are better cards to be putting into the deck. But if you do, say you hit a Boo in a your pre-release card, you hit one out of the pack, and you hit the Sully Bodyguard, then I think it's definitely worth running one of these to try and pull it off. If you manage to get the Sully and Boo down, you trade into something, this gets banished, and you just replay the Sully and Boo again. So, this could be very good. It's a high risk, The greatest thing is this is inkable, right? So if it turns out that you've played your Sully and Boo and they've already gone, they're in your discard, they're already sin play, you're not going to get to use them, and then you draw into this, well, you just didn't get. There's no harm there. But yeah, you need at least, I'd say, 3. If you don't have 3 shift targets for this, it's probably not worth putting it in. Obviously, if you find that you're struggling to flesh out that deck and get to that 40 card mark, you get into about 36 and you don't know what else to put in, it's a good card to put in. But if it's this or something that could draw you a card, or this or another evasive or something like that, that would always take priority. So yeah, this one is a very good card, but you do need a shift target for it. So from a card that you definitely need a shift to one that you definitely don't is Peter Pan and Tinkerbell. We're seeing a lot of this floating around in decks for core constructed. Giving things evasive is very powerful. Giving things evasive in limited, as with Sin, is even more powerful, right? So this is, yeah. I mean, I'm glad it's a super and not a legendary, so there's a chance a couple of people might get it. If this was legendary, I don't think you'd probably find one person out of your entire set will have one. And that person will probably win because they'll play this and you'll have maybe 2 answers to something and you won't be able to do much else. Obviously, there are cards that can take this out, right? So you've got Gaston in the set that can easily deal with this. There is removal that can deal with this. But, you're going to be spending something to get rid of this. So, 5/4, Crest 2, and, yeah, just giving everything evasive, 100% worth it. So this is definitely, if you manage to get 4 of these, you put in all 4. There's no question to it. So just a very, very solid card. So another one, again, that we, a bit like the Winnie the Pooh, a lot of people thought might be good in core. Turns out is a lot better in sealed, is With a Few Friends. So this is a 6 cost song action. So I know that's a lot, 6 is high, but this does have sing together, right? So you can sing this with a 4 and a 2 or 2 threes or, whatever possibility that you want to come up with. But chosen player draws a card for each different ink type of character you have in play. And like we said with Winnie the Pooh earlier, it's quite easy to get 4 different inks. This could be turn a 6 cost sideways and draw 4. In sealed, that's massive. That's huge. That probably wins you the game. If you can draw 4 cards and your opponent's only got 1 card in hand, you're probably going to win that game. Just because you can constantly play resources, you don't need to worry too much about 2-for-1s. You can just trade things because you're going to have those cards to rebuild your board and your opponent's not. So yeah, this is massive. Again, it's a rare, so not everyone's going to get one. We only have, like we say, 12 chances of getting one of these, so it's not going to be easy. But it can be a very, very powerful card. A powerhouse of a card, a 6 cost, Hades, 5/5, quest for free, and has ward. So yeah, in sealed, as much as it seems a little bit weird, you don't really want ward in your low to cost characters, right? Your low cost characters is where you want your opponents to be using their removal. So I'm going to say that Boo, the 1 cost that can quest for free. If you sit on that for long enough, your opponent might go, I don't want you questing for free. Use a removal on it. That's fine. They've used the removal to get rid of a 1 cost. Ward is where you want on your big heavy hitters towards the end of the game that you might top deck, play down, and be like, well, I'm questing for free next turn. There's nothing you can do. So yeah, as much as there are a couple of characters in the set that do have ward, which are 1 and 2 cost, it's probably not worth having because you want to bait out that removal, right? You want to be able to say, well, you can take this if you want to, but it's going to cost you late game. So yeah, it's not a race. Sealed is a little bit different, and you do have to try and think more longer into the match. You can have a very fast start in sealed, but if you run out of cards and run out of cards on board and in hand, it will very quickly flip. So yeah, ward is really something you want on a big heavy character like this. So 5/5 across 3. So
Does this give you PTSD in any way? If we,
What, Hades?
if we rename this as Cusco?
No, am I missing something?
Yeah, testing his memory now. So FPS Madness had an unbelievable run at locals back in
Oh, yeah.
the early sets.
Yeah.
And I broke that run. That's not something I'm proud of because I didn't wanted him to keep going because it was an incredible run. But kind of broke it with the Cusco, and I remember playing Cusco down on board, and you just looked at me and went, "What do I do with that?" Yeah, nothing. He's questing for 3. And the same here, really. Yeah, you drop this on board, and your opponent's like, "So you're getting 3 lore next turn, then?"
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Yeah, that was the 48 streak. You beat me 2 weeks off 50. So that wasn't 48 games. That was 48 weeks undefeated at locals. And then you took me down on week 48. So yeah, that was a good run back in the old days. Green steel and blue steel when it used to be the best decks.
Yeah,
So
they
we're down to
certainly
the
were in your
last.
hands.
Well, yeah, back then, yeah. So last 5 cards. Let's have a look. So Mickey Mini Duro Shift. We know, obviously, like we say, if we can get Mickey Mini in our decks, it's going to be good. If not, you're still putting a 5/5 that quests for 5. If this card was uninkable, it never sees play. You don't even bother thinking about it. Yes, it costs 5, but it's not worth it. The fact you can ink this just makes it. If you get one, your chances are you're only going to get one, right? It's a legendary. If you get one, stick it in because this could finish you a game. You could be on 15, top deck this, and play it down, and then next thing you know, yeah, it's over. So,
And its ability actually is not irrelevant, right? So
no,
let's say you
exactly.
play this down, because again, we've been talking about card draw and cards in hand. So say you play this down, they play a Gaston or something, so they sort of banish this immediately. It goes into your inkwell, so that means next turn you may not need to ink. So that is a way of actually conserving a card in your hand.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, perfect world. You're hitting on the 1 cost mini into morph because I don't think there is a 2 cost mini in this set. There is last set, but not this set. I could be wrong there. So onto morph, you quest for 3 on turn 3, and then it gets banished and you have 3 ink, so you go from 3 ink to 6 ink. You don't have to ink for the rest of the game, and you can just play card after card. That'd be the perfect world. You know, the chance of that happening is very, very unlikely. But like we say, it isn't legendary, so it's going to be hard to pull anyway. But you know, it's there, right? It's a solid card. So the other one that again you're probably not going to be shifting, but you know, it's one of those ones. It'd be nice. You got the option there if you need to. So Maleficent and Diablo, 6/5s are very good stats on this, and has a first ability. You may put 5 characters from your discard to the bottom to shift this for free. Again, you're probably not shifting this, but if you do find a Maleficent or a Diablo, and you've got one in your deck, or that morph, you 100% stick one of these in just in case, because being able to shift this onto a low statted character that's just been sitting on board and they're like, I'm not really bothered about, and then all of a sudden you put this down, will massively, massively swing the game. And during your turn, whenever this character exerts, you draw a card. That's not quest, that's not sing, it's just exert. So you can challenge if you need to. You know, it's a 6/5. It could do decent damage, take tank out, survive the challenge, and draw a card. I mean, yeah, the ceiling is so high with this, right? It's so good. Like we say, you're going to be talking late game, but again, it's inkable, so it doesn't matter. If you draw this on 4 and all you've got in your hand is 4 costs, 3 costs, and a 5, you just ink this and just carry on, right? It's nice to have, but it's not, you know, it's not a major issue. Like I say, the fact is, inkable does massively save it. Same for the next card, right? So the next card we're looking at is the 8 cost Omnidroid. It's an 8/8. Again, massive stats. Quest for 2. Again, we're talking real late game here. Yeah, so 8 isn't going to be easy to get to, but once you're there, this is massive. Does have shift 6, and its ability is when you shift this character, you may return all cards under it to your hand. So if you do shift it onto a morph, you can bring that morph back to your hand. You can play it again, or ink it, or do whatever you need to. Again, there are better cards. So if it's this or an evasive, you put the evasive in. If it's this and a card draw, you put the card draw in. But if you're needing those couple of cards to finish your deck off, you're at that 36, 37, you need a couple of cards and you've got one of these, it's inkable. Stick it in. It's, it could win you a game. You slap down an 8/8, it's not going to be dealt with very easily. That's big stats to deal with. So, and then one, again, we've said has got a couple of shift targets, so you might want to use it. This is probably the only one in the deck that you would, is Dash and Par. So Dash and Violet Par, sorry. So it's a 5/5 quest for 2, evasive, resist 1. So, very good stats. But the reason you may want to shift it is whenever this character quests or challenge, you draw a card for each card under them. So obviously a 5/5 quest 2 is still good, but if you do manage to get something under it, you're going to be able to draw cards as well. So you could play Dash on 1, Violet on 2. You could then shift the other Dash on and then shift this. So, you're losing 3 cards to board, but you're going to draw 3 cards every time there's quest.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
and Morph as well. Morph would count as one. So, there's a high possibility you can get something under this. Again, if it's this or a draw card or this or an evasive, stick the evasive in. But, and it's inkable. Again, legendary, so it's going to be difficult to get, but again, as a finisher that can draw you cards, it's going to be good. It could win you a game. So, and then last but not least, probably the only card that would ever make it in as a 7 cost uninkable is Red Moon Ritual. So, yep, 7 cost uninkable when sealed. You heard. I know it sounds absolutely crazy, but this is banished chosen character, and it's a sing together. That's the only thing that saves this card. It's basically a Dragonfire, but you can sing this, okay? So you can sing this with a 4 and a 3. You probably don't want to do it that early, and this is probably more saved for later game. If they do get that Omnidroid down, if they get the Peter Pan down, they get, those hard to remove cards, this could really save you. Again, it is uncommon, so you might find 1 or 2 of these. But yeah, you probably don't run a 1. You probably only want 1, 2 at a max. It is a 7 cost unequal, so it's a big number. Like I said, the Sing Together saves it, right? Because you can get this off so much earlier. You can get it out your hand. You haven't got to wait to 7 to be able to play it. But yeah, it's going to be a very powerful card because it's only the straight up removal in the set. There's nothing else that's just going to remove something. There's no Lego, there's no Hades, there's nothing like that. You've got Gaston, obviously, but that's conditional. It needs to be 5 strength or above. This is just a straight up, it doesn't matter what it is, it's gone. Obviously, unless it's got ward. But yeah. But then that goes back to what we were saying about the warded characters. You really want to be the high end, because if you had a high end character on the board and a 1 cost that's got ward, that's not going to be good. Whereas if it was the other way around and your high end has got ward and your low end doesn't, and they play this, they're going to have to get rid of that low end card. So try and stick ward further up in your deck, and yeah, watch out for this. This could be very sneaky. I would say it is uncommon, so there's a chance that a couple of players will have this and sing together. It can come out of nowhere. So yeah. Okay, so like we said, these are the top 40 cards in sealed or draft. Like I say, if you draw more than one of these, you're probably going to stick more than one in, but these are the top 40 to watch out for. So if you do hit one of these, there's a good chance it wants to go into your deck. Obviously, please bear in mind with the shift cards, if you have a shift target, it's going to be better. There are a few that obviously you don't need it, but there's a couple that, you're going to need the shift to make it a lot better. So, yeah, I'm excited for pre-release.
Absolutely. And I know we say that the shift, it might be too difficult to get the combos, but this is pre-release. It's about playing with new cards, zit your locals, you know. So if you want to go for it, go for it. You know, because you pull it off once, you know, you can banter about it for months.
This is true. This is very true. At one time, you managed to get dash power out and gain 6 cards because your opponent couldn't deal with a 5/5. Yeah, very true, very true. So we just want to say a massive thank you to Team Uninkable. So this is our YouTube members. So we just want to say a thank you to Panos, Ryan, Me and My Shoes, Jamie, Rolling with Rob, and Sad as Buffalo. So thank you very much for being a YouTube member and supporting the channel. And yeah, they've had this information for a couple of days now. So we put out the sealed information in our members early. So if you want to catch info like that early, then and support channel, it's a good way to do it over on YouTube membership. So yeah, thank you to them for being a member.
And if you have got some value out of you know, the sealed section of this video, you know, if you've learned anything, or even if we've just shown you a new card that you maybe hadn't picked up on previously, then a great way to support the channel that costs you nothing is just go down, smash that like button. And while you're there, if you haven't as yet subscribed to the channel, why not drop us a subscribe, and that will mean that we pop up on your feed when we drop a new video.
Yeah, definitely. Don't forget to the like, share, and subscribe. It really does help. So moving on to the bit outside of pre-release, right? Pre-release is, you've enjoyed pre-release. Maybe you're watching this after your pre-release. If you did, let us know how you got on. And would the info have been helpful? Was there a couple of cards that you missed out and didn't put in your pre-release set that you now sitting there going, oh, should have spotted that one? But core constructed, new meta, new set, massive rotation. And yeah, I've been enjoying something a little bit different. So we had something very similar last set, right? I was playing Amber Sapphire a little bit on and off last set. We've lost Sail and we've lost Tippo, and I thought that was going to feel really bad. Well, it turns out we don't really need them in this deck because we have Aurora, Grandma Willow, and Ham that all do the same job of getting Cindy down on 3. And technically, I've fought extra ramp now because I had Tippo and Sail before, and now I've got Aurora, Grandma Willow, and Ham. So there's those 12 chances of getting Cindy down on turn 3, which then opens this deck up because you're allowed then a turn ahead of your opponent. If you then manage to play a Bell next turn, or a Moana next turn, or even another Aurora the next turn, you re-trigger Cindy, and you can put even more cards into your Inkwell. Like I said, there are a few new cards in this deck, right? So we've got some of the old faithfuls in here. You've got the Cindy, Moana, Bell, Pete, obviously Hades. They're solid cards, right? They've been around for a little while. But set 13 cards, ones that we've added in, are doing pretty well. So we've got Besties Assemble. So I took out 2 develop and put 2 of these in. So this is a look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal a character card and put it in your hand. Put the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. The reason I've gone for 2 and not just straight up 4 is because sometimes develop's good to help you find the Let Go, the Raging Storm, the Ahana, you know, Horseman Strikes. You know, there's sometimes you don't always want a character. You just want to dig 1 card deeper to see if you can find, or 2 cards deeper, to see if you can find that action you need. But Besties Assemble is really good, really strong, especially on turn 1. I have had a couple of plays where I've had Aurora and Willow in hand, but not had Cindy. So I played this on 1, found the Cindy from it, then played Willow on 2 with Aurora, because obviously Aurora comes down for nothing. So then that gives me 2 opportunities. If they take out the Aurora, I've still got the Willow, I'm still playing Cindy on 3. If they take out the Willow, I've still got Aurora, I'm still playing Cindy on 3. So it's very difficult for your opponent to stop you getting that Cindy down on turn 3. Or Bell. I mean, Bell is obviously a good backup, but obviously ideally you want to be hitting Cindy with it. So yeah, it's nice to just dig that little bit straight off the bat if you don't find the card you need off Mulligan, especially if you do have this in your pre-Mulligan or pre-alter. You can say, right, well, hold on to this, and I don't have to search hard for Cindy. I can look maybe put 3 back instead of 4 or 5, because you can search straight away. So it's not too bad. And then another card which I didn't think would actually end up in this deck, but it seems to be doing quite well, which is We've Got a Lot to Do. So this is put a chosen item or location into the player's inkwell, face down exerted. There isn't many, but there's a couple that can win your opponents the game outright. Big one is obviously Amber Ruby boost deck with Webby's Diary. If you can get rid of Webby's Diary, that just ends their draw on the spot. And also in Ruby, you've got the location that obviously gains lore per card underneath it. It's not great because you're ramping them, but if they play that and give it evasive, you've got no way of dealing with it, so you just have to. Let's say it's only 2. It's inkable. You can get rid of it. It's not an issue, but it's there if you need it, right? You could run a different item removal or different, but this does both. This does item location, so it's worth it. I don't think I've had a situation where I was like, I wish this wasn't in the deck. It's come in handy more than it's not. And like I say, worst case, you just didn't get. So it's pretty good. And then 2 cards that have really changed this deck around is the new Gaston. So Gaston has been really, really strong. You could make him stronger, right? We could stick some support in this deck and, make it a little bit stronger. But there's so many characters out there that are 5 or more. So yeah, Gaston has been really good. He is a 5-cost 3/4, and when you play this character, you may banish chosen character 5 strength or more. So yeah, there's a lot out there. A lot of the new dual shifts and all of those are all 5 or more. So the Mickey, the Pan, Sully, Dash and that, they're all 5 or more. So this has been really, really impactful in those games. And then one that was a little bit of a sleeper card, right? When I first read this, I didn't think it'd be that good, but it's been very strong, right? So we have Raging Storm in this deck, and sometimes you do have to board, right? You just have to get everything off the board. If you play Horn King next turn and they don't answer it, you can then start playing things from your discard, which means that you're reserving cards in hand, and you're also just got a good chance of flooding the board quicker. Because if I've Raging Storm, the chances are I've got 1 or 2 Auroras in my discard. I've got a Willow in there. I've got a Cindy in there. I've had games where I've Raging Stormed, played this on 13 ink, so I've stormed and played this in the same turn. They haven't done anything. They've just played the character of the board. Next turn, I brought back like 2 Auroras, 2 Willows, a Cindy, and I don't know, a Pete or something. You can really flood the board very quickly and really turn on that pressure. And then if they don't take this out, you can just keep going and just keep bringing things back. Worst case scenario, bring back a Hades or a Stitch or, something like that. So there's been a lot of decent cards that have been brought back by this. It's a bit like Cauldron, but it's just more powerful. There's a lot more wink onto it. You can flood the board a lot quicker. So yeah, been enjoying that. So yeah, that is the control deck I've been playing recently. So if you are a control player and want to give it a go, I would highly recommend it. It's been really enjoyable. And yeah, I think I've got an 80-something win percentage with it currently. So it's doing well. And it's been good fun playing it as well. So, but if you're not a control player and you want something a bit different,
yeah. So if you're going to play that, if you're going to play that, I'm going to try and dent that 80% win rate. It's something that can just get under you, go aggressive. And this is it. So this is a deck that I think a few people have been sort of showcasing. I certainly know Garrick and Sky over at Podcana were sort of early on to this deck, and I really like it, having played Eleanor in the last set. I know that sort of aggressive strategy into Eleanor is quite a fun one. It's a very effective one. And this just looks to take it to a whole new level. So we've got some new cards in this deck, and essentially this deck just wants to play out characters, flood the board, gain lore very quickly, Now, the issue with those sort of aggro decks is usually that they burn themselves out, right? They run out of cards.
Yeah.
And or they get hit by something like Raging Storm. They can't come back because they can just play a one card out of hand. This draws an insane amount of cards. So you just keep flooding the board and keep flooding the board. And if your board gets wiped, you just replace it. So a couple of cards that help you do that is a couple of the new cards from set 13. Miriam Mendelssohn. 2 costs 1/3. When you play this character, each player draws a card. So you're giving your opponent a card. You don't really care in this deck because you are just going to be able to flood the board so much faster than your opponent. You're on 3 ink and you're playing out 2 cards. They're on 3 ink, they're playing out 1 card. So you don't mind they've got cards in the hand. And then Mike Wazowski, this card is very strong in this sort of deck. A 2 cost is uninkable, is a 0/4. But when you play the character and whenever he quests, each player reveals the top card of the deck. If it's a character card, they may put it in their hand, otherwise put it on the bottom of their deck. And the sharp-eyed of you may realize that all 60 cards in this deck are characters. So you hit every single time. You don't mind if your opponent hits, as I say, if they draw a card, but likelihood is your opponent may not hit every time, and therefore you've got the advantage. 0/4. So, yes, they're taking no pain to take him out, but that 4 willpower means it's not the easiest thing to remove. And if they want to play something like a Thunderbolt to take him out, that's fine with us because that means they haven't got that Thunderbolt available to take out something like Eleanor or one of our bigger threats.
Nice. Yeah, I can see where this is going. Obviously, flood the ball very quickly. You got a few things in here: Aurora, Pluto. Ways of reducing costs so that we can get things out and keep them out cheap. So yeah, I mean,
And then
the combos keep coming, right?
They do. So yeah, you mentioned there you got Pluto, which means you can cheat something out early. You got Aurora. We've got Grandma Willow in this deck. But why not have something else that can cheat something out? So Pocahontas, 2 cost, 2/3, questing for 1. When you play this character, you may play a character with cost 1 for free. So she just drops on the board. And you drop another 1 cost down. So again, looking to go into that Eleanor line where you want to quest with 3 things to trigger Eleanor, have 3 things exerted to trigger Eleanor. If you haven't got the Grandma Willow, the Pocahontas allows you to get that extra card on board ahead of the Eleanor. But then the 5 cost Pocahontas, Peacekeeper, 3/6. Shifts for 3, quests for 2. When you play this character, if you use shift to play her and none of your characters challenge this turn, characters can't challenge until the start of your next turn. So she is similar to Kida, where Kida shifted and minus the strength of opposing characters. This shifts and says if the conditions are met, then nothing can challenge. So neither you nor your opponent. But that also means that if they, I assume you're the rules guru. I assume this means that if they were to rush something in on their next turn, that still can't challenge because she isn't
so when you
she's just saying challenges. Characters cannot challenge.
None of your characters challenges, and characters cannot challenge. Yeah, it doesn't say characters get minus strength or anything like that. It straight up can't challenge. So I would assume yes.
Yeah. So this is protecting your board. It's allowing you to turn everything sideways, gain the law. They can't challenge in to remove things, and then next turn you get to quest again. So part of the the line here is to try and set that fairly wide board up, flood the board, set the wide board up, shift in Pocahontas, quest for a bunch. They can't remove your board, so you're then questing for a bunch again next turn to try and win in sort of 2 turns.
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, it's one of those ones that can really surprise people as well, right? If they haven't seen the Pocahontas shift before. This deck's going to be a bit of a nightmare to deal with. It's going to be interesting, right? It's going to be interesting to see. We thought toys was going to be the new dogs. Maybe not. Maybe the Pocahontas spam deck is going to be the new dogs. So yeah. And we also have the Queen in here. So this is one that I didn't think would see play, right? I've got loads of them. I hope they do really well because I've got like 12 of the things. So,
It's an interesting card, right? But again, we've got Aurora in the deck, so she discounts princesses and queens, so she can help us cheat the queen out. And the queen is a 5/3 quest for 1, and it has 2 abilities. So when you play this character, you may draw a card. So that's good. We like drawing cards.
Yeah.
If you do, each opponent gains 2 lore. Well, that's not so good. We don't particularly like giving our opponent 2 lore. But then the second ability, Jealous Heart, while an opponent has more lore than you, this character gains +2 lore. So if you can bring her down and she's going to survive, then you draw a card, your opponent gains 2 lore, but you effectively get that lore back on the next turn when she quests for 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's one of those ones, obviously, you'd have to be careful playing it late game. But it is a May ability, right? So if you play this down and your opponent's close to winning, you can not draw a card. And therefore, your opponent wouldn't gain the 2 lore. But if they still have more lore than you, you would still get the +2. So, that May ability means that it's a bit more flexible. Yeah. No, I like this. I mean, it is definitely a different style. Like we say, when you look into what we've got and what you can get out cheap, if you can play, say, Aurora on 1, Pocahontas on 2, and bring down the Queen, or a Bobby, for instance. So you've already got 3 characters on board. You could quest with Aurora, Pocahontas, and whatever other 1-drop, and Eleanor's also a queen, right? So then Eleanor could come in on 3, and you're triggering that ability on the start of end of turn 3. So it's just so powerful. I mean, that ability is good anyway. Being able to do it that early is just so good, right? It's going to really, really mess up the maths. But yeah, I can see potential of Under the Sea having to be played in a lot of decks if this becomes very strong, because obviously there is a lot of cards in here that have 2 or less. But yeah, I like it. I do like it. Yeah. I think it could do well. I would say we don't know what the new dogs is, and this could be it. So
yeah. Sorry, but I mean that's a good point, right? Because you mentioned Under the Sea. I don't think a deck like this could survive in a meta with the Big Tramp.
No.
But with Big Tramp gone, although Under the Sea is still a threat, you got to find it. It's you don't really want to be holding an 8-cost uninkable brick in your hand because this has got 6 cards in that can snipe it. So you've got to find it at the right time, and there's just less options to do that in this meta currently.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you'd probably have it in blue-green because you've got a chance of playing it earlier, but yeah, I mean, still, like you say, if you're holding on to it, you're ready to play next turn, you play an Ursula and get rid of it, it's game at that point, right? So, yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. I don't feel like... I mean, this is from someone who played against dogs a lot, right? I know dogs was the best deck. I should have just played it. I should have just committed to it, but I could never really find my flow with dogs. It's just not my play style. I'll say we've had Zan on the pod, and he's the sort of person that when if you're not playing dogs, what are you doing? well, I couldn't get on with it. I feel like this is something I could, right? I don't know why. You still have to go wide. You still have to build a board. You still have to follow that principle of what dogs what's. But for some reason, for me, this seems like something I could get on with. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I don't think you're going to get the control player out of me. I think I'm always going to be a control player. But I don't know. Maybe it's the Eleanor. It gives me that little bit of control, you know. Stick a buzz in here as well. And, you know, maybe my control element's coming back. I'm very excited for next set. So, yeah. Organic Panic is here. And it's here to stay for the next 14 weeks. So, I would have thought, you know, as we get further in, and the panic's going to disappear. But, you know, you never know. We might still be sitting down to the very first set champs going, oh my God, what on earth's going on? But, you know, we'll see.
Sounds pretty likely.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that is it for this week. We've just got the Lorcana World Cup. So this was a tight one, right? This is probably the closest call we've had. Some of the others have been close, but not this close. I think, you know, when we looked at all the comments and tallied up our group chats and everything, Elsa won by like 2 votes. This was extremely, extremely close. So yeah, Elsa does go on into the next round, goes into the final to face either Belle or Mickey. So are we going to have the very first OG versus the iconic, or are we going to have Princess versus Princess? Well, guys, it's up to you guys. So let us know in the comments below. Belle versus Mickey. Which one do you want to take through into the final to face Elsa?
Yeah, this is big ones. You know, we need your votes on this one. So do let us know. And let us know why. Pop in the comments. What is it that's swaying you one way or the other?
Yeah, definitely. So that is it for this week. Like we say, thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. It does massively, massively help us out. And, you know, it keeps you up to date with our videos and keeps you up to date when we drop a new one. So thank you very much. It is time to roll up that playmat.
Pack away the dice.
And remember, stay uninkable.
See you next time.
See you next time.